Hi,
Hey, how are you?
doing good. Whew, I'm glad we got all that
Good.
jazz figured out.
Sorry, I'm not used to being on that other end. I may have done something different.
No
I'm used.
worries. Like your outfit, I'm wearing my Rush A Farewell to Kings shirt.
Nice, nice,
Um,
nice.
let me be courteous and kind and welcome you to Make Your Own Fun. And let me just say that, Alex is sorry she couldn't be here. She's got some family stuff going on, so she's taken an extended break from the podcast. So we're just rolling with it. We're going to see how this goes. And thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you for having me. And to Alex, I wish you the best. I hope to see you on here really soon.
Yeah,
I look
she is pretty damn hilarious. So.
Good.
So I've got a few questions, and then if you want to play a song somewhere in the middle, we can totally do that. So let me start off with one that hopefully your fans are chomping at the bit to hear some information from you. A little birdie called the Internets told me that your band, Hurt and the Heartbeat, are you recording or are you getting ready to put out your fourth CD?
We're getting we haven't met for all of COVID though,
Wow.
James is always working. He's always performing live, doing live shows, practicing our songs. We've been playing a lot of the songs for a long time. Most of the band members have been playing them for a long time. The new stuff, some of the new stuff is things that we were working on before COVID. So it's great. So then we had, I think, at least me personally, I had some time to like think about them a little bit more and work on it, and of course get better at bass, and then finding my originals for the song for the album, because this one I think I'm going to have one on there, possibly another one with a co-writer. So getting that time to like dial all of that in, I'm so excited to go in and record. But and we do have a show coming up with Pete DeStefano from Porno for Pyros. He's the guitar.
Wow.
He's played with us a couple of times. We played some shows. He's just a really great mentor for the band and supporter. And so we cover a couple of their songs, and he's just amazing. So we're gonna be doing a show with him. It was supposed to be at his studio, but his studio is not appropriately sized for what we want to do. And then this band called the Spice Pistols, which is basically a Sex Pistols, Spice Girls cover band they're in drag. They're amazing guitar players playing in drag, playing Sex Pistols and Spice Girl songs. Well, Spice Girl songs in the style of Sex Pistols. Let's put it that way. So they're amazing. They're check them out if you ever can see the Spice Pistols.
Wow, that's an awesome, unlikely combination. I never thought I would hear. That's so awesome.
It is. It really is. It's genius. It's genius.
So you mentioned co-writer. Do you guys work with people outside of the band for songwriting?
Well, no, not previous to this. So far, Jimmy Lewis, he is the primary songwriter. He writes the lyrics, comes up with a melody. When the band takes it, then we each bring in our own parts. He gives us really complete freedom to do whatever we want, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And as I feel like as my skills grow, I'm like, I get stumped because he gives me such an open palette. I'm like, oh my gosh, I could do so many things. And so then so sometimes it's evolving. But I've written a couple of songs, I think one song on each album. Maybe one song on each album. But I have another side project called Insomniac Dreams, which kind of came out of Hurt and the Heartbeat in a weird way, because he was a fan of Hurt and the Heartbeat. He lives in London, and he sent me some lyrics and said, hey, I was inspired by one of your songs. Would you try putting this to music? And I was 100% flattered, because that just seemed like, wow, when somebody would trust you with their lyrics. So we worked together for about a year putting together songs. And so one of those songs is a potential. We'll see. We'll see.
Well,
But
that's awesome, though. I mean, that's great that you guys have that outlet and that trust and that kind of Tom York way from Radiohead of like the skeleton of the song comes in, then everybody adds their little piece.
I think Radiohead is a big influence over James. He's got a lot of interest in music, but Radiohead is someone he's actually brought up on multiple occasions, going, everybody put in a little something, and that's how it becomes unique, right? Is when you have all of these creative minds who aren't fighting each other. That can be hard if you're fighting each other for space in a song. So giving everybody room and respect, it could be it's fun. It's so fun. I love some of our songs are very jammy. So I get to try out a lot of different things over, sometimes a 7-minute jam will, so it's, as a musician, it's fun. It's so fun to be able to have that palette. To have that canvas to work on.
That's great. So I have to ask you this, with everything opening up, and I'm sure eventually going back to live shows, looking back on the time with the band or with yourself, what have been some weird like open mic experiences or show experiences where you performed either by yourself with, guitar and singing, or with the band that you just like think to yourself, like, I don't know how we got out of this, or that was a crazy heckler, or like, what the hell was that?
Yeah. Well, actually, one time I was performing at the Fullerton Museum in Fullerton, where the Fender Museum is. I'm not sure what's up with it now, but we were doing an open mic in their theater, and it was full. It was fantastic. I was with my other girl band, Daisy Unchained, and I was singing a song called Ugly Dress, which is a Hurt in the Heartbeat song also. I do it with both bands because why not?
Why not?
Anyway, it's to me a pretty a song that I can get into emotionally, and we were doing it acoustically, so it's a little more bare. So the audience was phenomenal, except for these two guys at this table, and they were just like talking, like loud talking, like trying to talk over the music. And this was like kind of like a poetry open mic thing. Where
so you can really hear them.
Yeah, and this is a kind of a story, and it's fine, I've got to be respectful of the audience too. They're there to have a good time and do what they want. I've been an obnoxious audience member on many occasions, but in that song, I get to say the lyrics. Let me get the right ones, where I get to say, oh my goodness, I can't believe I can't remember the lyrics to it. But basically, I get to dance on his. Am I allowed to use profanity in this?
Fuck yeah.
Okay. I get to say, I'll dance on your fucking grave. And so there's like a little bit of a build up to it. And I was able to like stomp my foot and just direct those lyrics at those guys. And they just stopped in there. So I felt like I got to really use the emotion of that situation.
I can imagine if somebody says, I'll stomp on your fucking grave, and you're just like,
yes. I was it was very satisfying, and actually made me really understand why punk rock is so, like those moments when you're getting to like shout at the.
oh no, you froze.
Like the thing, right? That song was a poem, and there's just nothing like it. I mean, you're a pro performer, so you get it.
Know that feeling. I've been on stage before. I've told this story before about, God, this would have been like 12, 13 years ago. I was doing my first, I think, feature at an open mic that allowed to do poetry, comedy, and music. So I was like, well, I'm going to bust out my guitar and sing some songs too, because they gave me like a really nice 25-minute set list time. So I was doing some poetry. I was reading some funny stories or essays or whatever, and then I would kind of do a song like every 3 to 5 minutes. And the last song was a really long song. And this guy, I won't mention his name here, but he came in and someone had gotten up to go to the bathroom, and he came and he sat right in the front row, and he started talking to me like we were at a bar or something. He yelled over me singing and playing the guitar about like, that's a really good guitar, bro. And like, oh, I never heard this song. You didn't play this like 2 weeks ago. And like, we should totally jam sometime. And I'm just doing this, like trying to sing the song. And then people are trying to like grab him and pull him away. And he was like, that's my bro. And I think he was totally wasted off of his ass. And it's so sad. I was just telling another person this yesterday that I don't think I've performed music like since then, because he followed me around and stalked me to like 4 or 5 different venues and would sit right in the front. And I was just like starting to get into like the LA like comedy, poetry, music scene. And then I kind of just did like, poetry open mics after that. But like, it was heart wrenching because I was like, and then the guy wouldn't like really ever talk to me. Like, I'd go up to him and be like, hey man, what's that? And he just walk out of the room, and I'm like, so you just have your disruptors, you have your hecklers. You just gotta get a thick skin and move on,
Yes, you do. You gotta, it's always, it's never the same twice, which is like probably the reason why I still like doing it, is you never play the same show twice. The sound's never exactly the same. Crowd, the mood of the crowd, the new songs you decide to bring out there. It is a ride. It is fun.
Never really a dull moment. Oh, well, let me ask you this, since you guys are in like the album cycle. But let me drink from my for fuck's sake mug here. What keeps bringing you back to music? Because I know you do poetry, you do painting, you do a lot of other things, but like, what brings you to a point where you reach for your guitar or your bass? I don't know if you play piano, but that it's like this idea, this thought, this mood, like I have to write a song versus something else.
That's the having to write like having an idea for a song. That's like the number one, right? When you want to like craft it, you want it to sound good. You want to be able to play something that you can sing to, that, that doesn't sound like something else you've already done or somebody else's. So really that crafting of a new song, because you fall in love with it, right? You're like, oh my God, I can't believe I did this. So, and the rest of the world may not care about it, but it doesn't matter. It's like you fall in love with this song. And so, practicing bass, I love picking up the bass because it is something that I feel like when I practice, I get better at it. Over the pandemic, it's day 177, and then also play bass every day. And I specifically focused on funk bass because I learned a lot about Bootsy Collins, and I was listening to a lot of funk because I was roller skating. And I'm like, you know what? I'm
energetic, right?
Yeah. And so that really freed me up. So I looked forward going and finding like different funk songs to play along with. James Brown songs. I just crack up at James Brown all day long. Oh my gosh. I just love like this the stuff he says.
Well, it's hard to not be like in a good mood when somebody's like, ha, popcorn. Right?
Can I count it off? Yeah. And there's a song, The Payback. And I love that song. It is a long song, and the bass is doing the same thing throughout the whole thing. I mean, there's little places for whatever, but there's certain marks in the song, because sometimes I don't get through the whole song without like dropping out or just, like having to sneeze, like, because it's long. If I were performing it on stage, I would make it through every single time. But when you're practicing at home, you might drop off for some reason. So there's a line in that song, like, I don't know, let's see, I don't know karate, but I know crazy. And I'm like, I love that line. So every time I get to that line, I crack up and I'm like, all right, now I know how far I am in the song. And you know, and just
Like little guideposts for yourself.
yeah. So the little victories, you know, like figuring out somebody's bass line and being able to do it without like, you know, sounding like, you know, I don't know, sounding.
Totally. I got you. So
Yeah,
before I forget, because everybody who does this show, we always say like, you're always surprised how fast it goes for like 25, 30-minute format. Would you grace us with like an acoustic song if you have something?
Sure. I let me.
Like, I know we were like on a roll there, but it's like, if I don't like remember, I'll
Yeah,
never get to hear the song. So
I get it. I'm gonna just check my tuning really quickly because it's been
that's
sitting
everybody's favorite song, tuning.
in it. Exactly. I was gonna say one of the things, I don't know if you can hear me over my tuning.
Yeah, I can.
Oh, no, I was gonna say I thought it was pretty close. The idea of writing songs was something that I never thought that I would be able to do. The reason I actually started writing the first songs I wrote were for a novel.
Mm-hmm.
About a singer-songwriter. It's actually about an artist and a singer-songwriter. And so writing songs for this person was like, oh my gosh. So all the songs I wrote were sort of placeholders. When I went back to publish it, I was like, all right, now I know how to write a song. Now I need to like do this. And so I've recorded some of the songs from the book, and my songwriting partner recorded a couple too. And so I'm really inspired by that concept, how things cross over like that, you know, creatively. So anyway, that was me wasting time.
All right, now we're in tune and everything.
A book. It's called The Revival, a survivor's tale. All right, so I haven't performed for anybody in a long time. This is called I Set You Free. I set you free. Why'd you have to come running back home to me? I set you free. 'Cause you and me were never meant to be. Butterfly, you can fly on by, 'cause you and me were never meant to be. I set you free, 'cause you and me were never meant to be. Oh, honeybee, don't bother. As it used to be. I set you free, 'cause you and me were never meant to be. Lizard tail, I hung on too long. I never knew you could be so strong. I set you free, 'cause you and me were never meant to be. Why'd you have to come crawling back home to me? I set you free. Why'd you have to come running back home to me? 'Cause you and me were never meant to be.
All right. Wow.
Like,
Congrats. That's a great song.
I felt a little rough there, man. I did warm up too, but not enough. It always gets a little like, someone feels.
Yeah, but it's hot, the air is dry. That time of year, So yeah, I really dig that. I kind of feel like there's a little bit of just from my ears, there's a little like Kim Deal in there maybe, and a little Joni Mitchell.
It could be, the idea of that idea of like setting something free, and if it comes back to you, it was meant to be, is something that it's like, it's so, a cliche, of course, but it's definitely kind of folky in that regard. So the Joni Mitchell, I totally see that. Think about like Coyote, like, yeah,
She's a badass. All right, well, while you're putting your guitar down there, I'll ask you this one, since that kind of leads into what I was just saying. So, who do you think some of your earliest musical influences are, and or friends that maybe like pushed your music forward?
um my earliest musical influences were, gosh, it's a AM 70s radio, the singer songwriters, James Taylor and Carole King and Elton John and Glenn Campbell and Dolly Parton, and like the AM 70 radio in LA. There were two stations. I tell people this all the time. Was the greatest thing in the world. You could just like hop back and forth to these two stations that were playing all of these. It was like cross genre, right? There was Al Jarreau. It was like cross genre, but like the best of the best. So that, and then I loved the Beach Boys and the Beatles, and those probably felt to me like magic. Like I took some, like, I think, music for granted when I was growing up as like, whatever, but now I look back on it, I'm like, those people were genius, but it was already so ingrained in our culture. It just felt, like, oh, this is what music is. But you realize what geniuses, they were, that they just felt like part of my life already. But as far as changing my musical taste, I would say probably being, I have to bring up James Lewis again, because he actually, when I was finishing writing my novel and I was feeling, I'd written like 3 novels in a row. I was like one of those like voracious, all I wanted to do was come home and write. No matter what, I would take my computer with me everywhere. So when I had a little bit of writer's block, I happened to meet James Lewis in a parking lot, and I was talking about my writer's block, and I was playing bass at the time. And he's like, you should listen to Bright Eyes, Conor Oberst. And I was like, all right, I'm going to give it a try. Oh my God, changed my life. I started writing poetry. That got me like going to poetry readings and watching and going, ooh, I want to do that. I want to read poems, but my poetry wasn't very good. I don't know. Some people might say it's still not very good, but it does not stop me from getting on the stage and doing it. So Bright Eyes, Conor Oberst, M. Ward, and a lot of going back to even older bluegrass songs. That's kind of an interest of mine, going back to those really simple lyrics and those stories that are, again, kind of part of our history, I think. So that is my problem with Bright Eyes is makes me so depressed. Because the lyrics are so sad and so, they just rip my heart out. So but I love him. I have so much respect for his lyricism.
Awesome. Let me throw this out to you, because this is something, because I think we're in a similar age bracket, so I'm kind of relating to like what you were saying about the radio and influences and stuff. And the thing that's kind of made me like really frustrated over the last like 10 to 15 years is I remember growing up and listening to the radio like before MTV took over everything. And it was just music. It was just, you turn on the radio, it was just music. It wasn't like you had a R&B station or a rock station or a jazz station or like hip hop or country or whatever. It was just the radio. And over like the course of like the last 30, 40 years or whatever, it's just gotten so segmented and everything's gotten like so small and categorized. And I feel like that's just a bummer because a lot of the groups and singers that I grew up listening to, they could just bounce around to the different genres. And I feel like new, and you probably experienced this, like seeing like newer bands and singers, like up and coming people too, is they feel like they have to be one thing or no one's going to pay attention to them or sign them, or they're not going to be able to play the club or being opening act. They have to be like a metal band, or they have to be a country singer, or they have to be like a duet, or they have to be a piano, jazz, soul singer. Like nobody can really put out an album of like 4 or 5 different genres on one album because they were so afraid.
Yeah, no, I would say that yes. And actually hurt in the heartbeat when I think about that. We do have a lot of kind of different sounding stuff. I have a hard time classifying us for people, but we have a song that's kind of got like a rock steady sort of a beat to it, and then we have the it's called Rat Lines, and then there's another song that we have that to me Don't Go is like a it's not theatrical, but it's definitely not. I mean, it's more on the floor, but it's yeah. I would say we have a song Micheline that to me has a little bit of a country bluegrass feel to it, and so I think that that's one of the cool things is that James, when he writes the lyrics, he wants to bring out something in the lyrics with the music. So like Micheline, the song is it's got a bounce to it, and there's a line in it where it's like hamster wheel. He talks about a hamster wheel, so when I play bass to it, I play this thing that just kind of goes round and round. It's just but it's got like a back and forth too, like almost like a country song. So I'm playing like a 1 and a 5 and just kind of hopping back and forth. And to me, it felt like being on this hamster wheel because it's about this girl that's, kind of her life is, like everybody, they're doing their job. It's actually written for a girl that works at UPS. So her name's Micheline. And she kind of challenged him by saying, no one would write a song about my name. And he did. So that being said, we have some songs that are punk. We have some songs that are we do cross genres and folk songs. So, but we are not, we're not beholden to Warner Brothers Records. I think they would, I don't even know if I can mention them without paying something. Yeah, you're going to have to be a country singer. You're going to have a pedal steel. You're going to need to, and every song's you might be able to lean a little towards, like rock and time, you know what I mean? Like they have leanings. Like right now when I hear country and rap mashups, the country singer breaks into rap, I try to keep an open mind.
Nice. Yeah, it's just one of those things that I've noticed over the years that it's just like the bands and singers that I grew up listening to, it was like you could get away with a lot more, or they just didn't care. And it was like, hey, we've got our record deal. We're just going to do whatever we want. But now with that kind of stuff kind of going away and people doing more independent stuff or through the internet, like I said, there's just like this fear, an example I make, and it's not a bad example. It's just like over the last couple of years, like a band that I would call like meat and potatoes rock, like Foo Fighters, they've kind of like let their guard down and they're starting to do more like goofy, fun stuff. Like they're getting ready to do like, I think a disco album of Bee Gees covers. But it's like, that's cool and that's funny. I get Dave Grohl's like sense of humor, but why not do that on an actual like Foo Fighters album? Like he has access to like all this stuff and it's like, we're gonna make this joke disco album. Yeah, well, why not do like a disco or a country song on your Foo Fighters album? But there's that thing of like, we're the Foo Fighters and we have to market it as this, Yeah,
Dave Grohl can do anything he wants, right? So I hope you get to talk to him and ask him that question sometime. But
all right, well.
Yeah, that it's an interesting idea. Again, I love that we've gotten to play with like the Dickies, amazing punk band, and Missing Persons, and Robbie Krieger, and it's interesting. People will like think we are like whatever band we are playing with, and so I find it like kind of funny, like what you're like on in this lineup, and so. But we do try to lean our set towards that, you know, like whoever
Right.
we're for will like
And you
lean it.
have to, and I get that to get
Yeah,
bookings and stuff,
yeah.
but believe it or not, we have burned through a lot of time. So I'm just gonna wrap up with this question, which kind of takes us right back to the beginning, which is, everything's opening up. It's a return to live music. So are Hurt and the Heartbeat going to be doing some touring? And also, like, what are you most looking forward to about live shows?
You know what, just being with the band. One of the things I love most about live shows is that we practice a lot beforehand, and one of my favorite things is just to play music with other people. You know, it's like this incredible connection. So on stage, you know, we haven't done it in a while, so I'll be nervous, but I'm always a little nervous. And I do look forward to like meeting people, and just getting to see other bands, because usually I get to see whoever's playing before us. I'll get to see if someone's playing after us. Either way, my favorite thing was playing with Mike Watt. Oh my God. I didn't play with Mike Watt. Mike Watt played by himself, but we played 2 shows with him. And the first time we played with him, he played right before us.
Oh
And
my God.
literally, I grew as a musician just from watching him play that set. The next time we played, I was like so hoping. I'm like, oh man, I hope they go first. I hope we can play after him, just so I can do that again. Didn't happen. I was just pumped from the energy in the room, just the idea of it. But he is just, one of my idols. So to get to see him up close and just absorb his life force. I got to see him standing on the street. I took like pictures and like listened in, like eavesdrop on his conversation with his guitar player. He came up with this concept guitar that he calls a Jazz Stratocaster. So it's just this crazy thing that he was given the guitar from the guy from Dinosaur Jr. Anyway, yes. And so this guitar was like being handed from Mike Watt to his guitar player, and he's explaining everything about this guitar, every little nuance. So I just recorded the whole thing. I'm taking your soul home with me, Mike Watt. So that's yeah, that is a great memory. So
That's awesome.
I'm looking
Well,
forward to playing with Mike Watt.
Let's wrap it up on a high note. It's been so awesome having you on the show. I feel like I haven't seen you forever. And I know there's going to be some open mics like stuff with like poetry and music and stuff coming up in the near future. So I'm sure we'll get to hang out and catch up. But thank you so much for blessing us with one of your songs. That's great. And I know you said you have a show coming up with Heart and the Heartbeat. Why don't you say that again, like the day and date and place?
Oh my goodness. Those details are a little bit fuzzy in my mind right now because the show's been moved. So I don't know if the date is the same, but you can follow us on every social media out there. Hurt and the Heartbeat is spamming everybody. We do have a website, and I believe the dates are there too, but it'll be coming up in July. And it will be
Okay, that's pretty soon. So
Stefano, last time we got to play his favorite punk song, which is I Want to Be Your Dog, which was so fun to play.
Stooges.
And then we played Corner for Pyro's Orgasm, which that song is just crazy. And we played Early Austin, which is, again, so fun. This is the Mike Watt show.
Well, Mike Watt, Raundi.
Thank you so much, Eric.
No problem. Well, you go out and kick some ass, and we'll be seeing you around.
Yeah. Take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.